All right, we'll bring this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Looking for an adoption of the agenda. Any additions or changes? Moved by Councillor Cutler. All those in favor? Passed. Looking for adoption of the regular meeting minutes from March 13th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes.
Moved by Councillor Meister. All those in favor? Passed. Looking to go into a public hearing at 7 p.m. for bylaw 1758, land use bylaw amendment. Go ahead, Abe.
Sure. So this is the public hearing for land use bylaw amendment 1758, and proposing a change in the zoning from single detached residential to R1 to duplex R2. The property owners are looking to eventually build a duplex, and so in order to comply with that usage, it needs to be rezoned. So administration did circulate the public hearing and also notification of the bylaw to the neighboring municipalities, or sorry, pardon me, in the neighborhood rather, and also circulated in the newspaper as well. So the public hearing is open for anybody who wants to speak to the proposed amendments, either in favor or against.
Is there anyone here that is wanting to speak in regards to this land use? No? And no comments from anywhere else, Abe?
No.
All right. That being said, I guess we can go out of that public hearing at 7:02 p.m. and move on to our delegations. Gregory Herman and Associates. I would like to welcome Aaron Gregory for our 2022 financial statements. Welcome.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. First off, I'd like to thank Council for giving us the opportunity to do the audit this year. And for the staff, I'd like to thank them for their help as well. I believe you've all had a chance to review the draft financial statements in detail. So tonight I'll just be reviewing the highlights of the audit and the financial statements. Next slide.
I think we're doing this here.
Okay.
It's on you
Okay.
for a second. So,
Thanks. So management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the consolidated financial statements in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards, and for internal controls as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of the financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. So our objective as auditors is to obtain reasonable assurance as to whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an audit report, which includes our opinion. So overall, the audit with the town went well, and we've issued a clean audit report. So that's on pages 2 and 3 of the financial statements. Next slide. So we've substantially completed our audit for the year December 31st, 22, pending completion of approval of the financial statements by council and receipt of the signed documents provided in our final audit package, which I have brought with me tonight. Next one. So we conducted our audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted audit standards. And so this slide just outlines our steps. So the first step is scoping. So we review the preliminary financial information, develop our audit plan, and determine materiality level for the audit. So using this materiality, we then determine the specific financial statement areas and conduct our audit work. And then the next step there is identifying and assessing risks based on our experience with the town, as well as paying close attention to changing factors in the municipality. And we confirm the areas of higher risk whereby additional audit work is required. So then we design and implement the audit evidence. So based on that scoping work previously mentioned and the risks identified, we complete the audit process, which includes reviewing of papers provided by management and confirmation of balances with third parties. And through further discussion and reconciliation, we gather and document evidence for our financial statement balances. The last steps are to form an opinion and report. So from that information we've obtained in the audit process, we are then able to conclude that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. So we reviewed a number of financial statement areas, and I just wanted to highlight a couple, which are revenue recognition and property and equipment, or TCA. So property tax revenue is specifically high risk, just due to balances are based on the approved budget by bylaw, and grant revenue is also high risk due to significant dollar value, as well as grant conditions that may be need to be satisfied. And tangible capital assets are identified as high risk due to the significant account balance, as well as the fact that council has set up a capital budget and capital asset policies, which the town is required to adhere to. So because these items are identified as higher risk, additional audit work is completed, and in both cases, we determined no evidence of fraud or material misstatement. So as previously noted, the final step is to form an opinion and report. So this slide just shows an excerpt of the independent audit report stating the audit opinion. So as previously noted, we have issued a clean audit report, meaning that the financial statements are fairly and appropriately presented in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So I'll just take you now through the high-level financial statements. So this first slide just shows a portion of the statement of financial position. So the top section there shows the financial assets, which are economic resources the municipality owns or controls and will be used to discharge liabilities. So it's important to note that of the 2.3 million of cash, 747 relates to deferred revenue and is therefore restricted. There are no other outside restrictions on any other financial assets. As at December 31st, we have liabilities at 7 million. So this is in part due to payments on long-term debt of 350,000 and deferred revenue, which also decreased by 430,000. So as you can see on this slide, net financial debt decreased from 1.2 million to 228,000, which is a decrease of 977,000. So net financial debt is the difference between the net financial assets and the liabilities that the town has, left over to discharge its liabilities. So the town is in a net financial debt position, which can be often misinterpreted thinking that the town does not have enough assets to cover off liabilities. However, long-term debt is included fully within this number, and this long-term debt will be paid out over the next 30 years. So if just the current portion is taken into account, this number would be in a positive position of 4.9 million. So we don't have any concerns there. The next section of the financial or statement of financial position is the non-financial assets. So these don't provide resources to discharge liabilities, but rather are used to deliver services. And so the town's non-financial assets are mainly made up of tangible capital assets with a balance of 33 million and include land, roadways, sidewalks, water, and other infrastructure items, the buildings, vehicles, and other equipment. Tangible capital assets have increased by 260,000 due to net or additions net of current year amortization. So overall, accumulated surplus is increased by 1.24 million to just over 33 million. And this next slide is the statement of operations. So we have just the top section of it, which includes the revenue. So we see that the revenue is increased from 8.3 million in 2021 to 8.7 million in 2022. The largest variance from budget was user fees and sale of goods, which is the second line down. So this is due to the gain on sale of land, as well as changes in water and sewer billings to include the flat rate plus consumption charged. Next. So the next slide shows total operating expenses for '22. They were $8.99 million, which is an increase of $626,000 when compared to the previous year. Overall, actual expenses were very similar to what was budgeted. So the next slide is just completes the statement of operations and shows that, shows a shortfall of operating revenues over expenses of $287,000. So then we have the other section, which totals $1.52 million and represents government transfers for capital, which are grants received and spent on capital projects. So this leaves the town with an excess of revenue over expenses of $1.24 million. So the next slide has some municipal indicators that we'll look at, or that we do look at as part of the audit. So please note that these aren't part of the financial statements, but just wanted to provide this information to council as we thought you might find it useful. So these are indicators that Municipal Affairs uses to kind of benchmark municipalities. And we've calculated some of these indicators for this purpose. And it's important to note that these are 2021 numbers from Municipal Affairs. The 22 haven't come out yet. So just looking at the 21 figures, the only indicator that Municipal Affairs sees issue with is the infrastructure age calculation. And this is the amortized value of tangible capital assets as a percentage of the original cost of those assets. So this calculation is triggered when the net book value is less than 40%. So we can see it's just under 33% there. So moving to the next slide, it just kind of compares it, the 21 numbers with the 22. So we can see there's been a little bit of a decrease. So we did look further into this and calculated the investment in infrastructure age. And found that you guys were higher than the average median at 1.77 million. So it kind of negates the previous issue. So shows that things are moving in the right direction. All right. So this next slide, we also, in addition to the municipal indicators, we looked kind of at other benchmarks. And so one we wanted to bring to a council's attention was the net debt. So as previously noted, the net financial debt improved from 1.2 million to 228,000. And so again, moving in the right direction. And so the town does have a higher net debt balance when compared to the median of 2.9 million. However, as the town continues to pay down the debt, this number will continue to improve. So again, it's over 30 years, so it's not a concern. So overall, with the exception of the two indicators we discussed, the town appears to be in good financial condition based on the statements and the indicators that we reviewed. Are there any questions?
Any questions from council? No?
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, thanks. It was nice to come in.
Moving on to our action items. Request for decision, 2022 reserve transfers. Blair or Abe?
Abe's asked me to take this one. The equity that the town has is made up of both our tangible capital assets, unrestricted surplus, and restricted surplus or reserves. It's been our practice, or the town's practice, over the last number of years to basically keep the unrestricted surplus status quo, and any additional money that we have surplus in the year gets transferred into reserves. So with that in mind, we met with council, with the Audit and Finance Committee, made up of council, last week on Tuesday, and went over those reserve transfers. If you just want to scroll down to the table. No, keep going. There. So as you can see here, Our operating reserves coming into the year, the December 31st, 2021, was at 366,000 and change. During the year, we spent about 126,000 of that. Most of that was already within the 2022 budget, with a few of those being motions throughout the year of council to use those funds. And then we're putting 80,500 and change back into reserves, plus interest that has been earned on those funds of 4,920, leaving us with a year-end operating reserve balance of 325,000. On the capital reserve side, coming into the year, we were at just shy of 2.8 million. We utilized 564,000 of that on capital projects in the year. Most of that being water and sewer reserve on some of our infrastructure projects, including Highway 2, Westland Drive, and the Lagoon. And then we're putting back into reserve nearly 1.3 million, plus another 68,000 of interest earned on those funds during the year. And again, most of that was in budget with some motions during the year. And so Audit and Finance Committee recommended that the council approve all of these transfers that we have here, with two also looking to change the name of two of the reserve accounts. One, we had a capital reserve account called the fire truck, proposing to change the name of that to just fire, to be able to use those funds a little bit more broadly for any capital expenditures related to the fire department, as well as the Audit and Finance Committee wanted to rename the physician recruitment operational reserve to the healthcare professional recruitment operational reserve. Again, to be able to use those funds a little more broadly, not just for the recruitment of physicians, but also other healthcare professionals. And so just looking for a motion for those changes there.
We'll open it up for discussion. Comments?
Make the first motion.
All right. In regards to the
This is
fire?
the fire
All
truck
right,
capital reserve.
Moved by Councillor Meister. Question?
Moved by Councillor Meister to change the name and broaden the use of the funds in the fire truck capital reserve to the fire capital reserve to be used for any capital expenditures related to the fire department.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Looking for a motion in regards to the physician recruitment. Moved by Councillor Schlossberger. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to change the name and broaden the use of the funds in the physician recruitment operational reserve to the healthcare professional recruitment operational reserve to be used for expenditures associated with the recruitment of healthcare professionals.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. I'm looking for a third motion to transfer the reserve funds for 2022.
I'll make a motion to transfer the reverse reserve funds as stated below.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer. Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to transfer out of reserve funds for the 2022 operational capital purposes in the amount of $690,799 for the year ended December 31st, 2022 as follows.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. And one more. Looking for a fourth. Moved by Councillor Kettles for the 2022 unrestricted surplus. Question?
Moved by Councillor Kettles to transfer 2022 unrestricted surplus funds of $1,444,144 to reserves for the year ended December 31st, 2022 as follows.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Okay. Moving on, request for decision, 2022 audited financial statements. Blair?
Yeah. So as was noted by our auditor, one of the last steps to finalize the 2022 audit is for council to accept the financial statements or adopt the financial statements as presented. Also annually, we must pass a motion, or council must pass a motion to appoint the town's auditor. 2022 was the last year of our current 3-year contract with Gregory Harmon and Associates. However, that contract did have 2 one-year extensions included in it. We've been very happy with Gregory Harmon and Associates and recommending to exercise those extensions. So just looking for a motion also on appointing them as our auditor again for 2023.
Okay. I'm opening it up for discussion. Anyone like to move to adopt the, okay. Moved by Councillor Schlossberger, question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to accept the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022 as presented.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. I'm looking for second motion to appoint Gregory Harmon and Associates for 2023. Moved by Councillor Carlson, question?
Moved by Councillor Carlson to appoint Gregory Harriman and Associates LLP as the Town of Claresholm Auditor for the 2023 fiscal year.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. All right.
Sure.
Do we have just a minute? We can get this to sign so that Aaron has his sign.
Those ones are for
Perfect.
I need a second counselor now.
And that would be used Deputy Mayor? Doesn't matter.
I need your signature.
Mine or Abe's?
Actually, probably Abe's, yeah.
Okay. That's actually got my name on it. I'll just
Okay.
go ahead and sign that one. That's fine.
I know she's the answer. This is the LAPT audit. Just your signature. And I need a second signature. Thank you. Yes. Oh, sorry. This one's for me, or this one for you?
She'll just get stamps. Okay. She'll get like stamps or seals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right, moving on to bylaw 1758, land use bylaw amendment, second and third reading. Gabe?
Just bear with me, council, while I pull that up on the screen here. But on the agenda for second and third readings, bylaw 1758, a land use bylaw amendment, just held the public hearing for that earlier, council. Did not receive any comments from the public. Nothing to forward to the readings from the public hearing or from the public generally. The public hearing was circulated in the local press as well as to the neighborhood. And the purpose is, of course, a rezoning from R1 residential to R2 duplex.
Open it up for discussion. Any comments in regards to this? Looking for a motion for second reading.
I'll give bylaw number 1758 the second reading.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer. Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to give bylaw number 1758, a land use bylaw amendment, second reading.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. I'm looking for a third and final reading. Moved by Councillor Cutler. Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to give bylaw number 1758, a land use bylaw amendment, third and final reading.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Moving on, correspondence. Alberta Justice and Solicitor General engagement, upcoming town halls. Abe?
So some upcoming town halls being hosted by the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, Mike Ellis, and co-hosted. Some of the dates looks like they're co-hosted by the Minister of Justice, Tyler Shandro. Just looks like they're providing the public with opportunities to ask questions and engage the public on areas of interest under their respective ministries. There is a engagement Tuesday, April 4th in Lethbridge, which is the closest to us. And we can register you if you're interested in attending. That's from 5 to 6 p.m.
Questions?
I'll attend.
Anyone else like to attend with Councillor Slashberger? No?
Yeah, I will as well.
Councillor Zimmer? Anyone else? No? That's great. So we'll just take that for information and move on. Number 5, correspondence. Joe Cece, MLA Calgary Buffalo, meeting opportunity at Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus. Abe?
Just an invitation to the municipalities participating in the RMA Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus to meet with Joe Cece, who's looking to reach out. He is the budget finance critic for municipal affairs, critic for municipal affairs. So.
Open up for discussion.
Keith, now, be there.
Yeah.
There's something you guys want us to meet about, we're good, but
Take it for information.
I'm a fan of those 8-minute meetings.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll take that for information. Number 6, correspondence. Workers' Compensation Board, Alberta, day of mourning, April 28th. Abe?
Yeah, so every year, April 28th is a National Day of Mourning in Canada to recognize Canadian workers who have lost their lives while at the workplace. And so there's a number of information items and tools that they're offering, WCB is offering, to educate the workforce. In the past, council has just referred to administration to choose how they would like to recognize this day, and we have traditionally lowered flags and had some special safety talks in the morning, so we're just recommending that's what we do as well again. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Do you need a motion in for that? No. Everyone's good with that? All right. We will take it for information right now. Correspondence, WCCHS 2023 graduating class, Spring Festival, April 28th, 2023.
So the graduating class is doing a fundraiser, just kind of detailing how expensive their actual graduation is and trying to make it inclusive for everybody of all economic status. So they have a goal here to raise approximately $20,000, I believe, and it looks like they're at $8,900. So they are going to be having a festival, fundraising barbecue, silent auction, live auction, and a dunk tank. And this all takes place April 28th from 4 to 9 p.m. The football field behind the gym. So they have 4 slots to fill for that dunk tank, and
Any counselors in work for that?
and they're looking for.
I'll second that one.
They'll break it.
The funny thing was, and I was actually thinking about that, is where is this dunk tank? Like, can I have a look at it? Will it hold me?
All I know is it's gonna be plus 2 degrees and it's outside.
I don't care. Put ice in it. I just want to make sure that I can get in and out of it. Is the thing about needing
It might
like
be a one-way trip.
the services of Triple T to get me out. I want to be able to get out of my own will.
Gotta hold this on you, please.
It held me, so you're fine.
Well, if I can get in and out, okay, I'm game.
Yeah, we can.
Fire department's on standby.
We can let them know that we've got an interested party with
Sounds good.
1 or 2 questions before agreeing.
Oh, no.
I have concerns.
Sorry. Are they looking anyone for anything else other than for
I
us
don't-
to donate a counselor for the day?
I don't think so. They're actually looking for 4 counselors, so.
Sign me up.
Not a chance for me.
All right. I guess we can take that for information unless anyone has any other questions in regards to it. Perfect. Moving on, correspondence. Nancy Schroeder, Highway Safety.
Yeah, so we have correspondence here from a town resident who is concerned about the use of engine retarder brakes in town. I think we all can agree that it is a little noisy and disruptive, and so she's written to express concern about that, wanting to know what can be done, possibly removing the speed signs farther near the outskirts of town rather than inside town. And questions about the highway bypass going through when that is supposed to happen as well. Obviously, that would alleviate some of the issues. And then other questions into peace officer program potentially enforcing some of those bylaws, specifically prohibiting the use of engine retarder brakes in town. So just forwarding this on to council and looking for direction on how to respond.
I think, I don't know if there's, I mean, other than looking at, like, we looked at moving our speed zones before, but because with it being the highway and dealing with Alberta traffic safety, we weren't able to do anything before. Well, I know we wanted to move our 50 and our 70 further out. Peace officer, we've tried 2 or 3 times, and that doesn't ever seem to work out, but I don't know, maybe talk to the RCMP, maybe they can start hitting that a little bit harder. But,
I did. This came to me. I chatted actually with her briefly just between this email coming out and the RCMP is aware, and now they have all of their staff fully trained on their speed radar, and they're aware of this concern as well. So other than that, I'm not sure what else Unless council has any other thoughts in regards to this. Councillor Kettles?
We do have the speed sign that gives recommended speeds as well, and that hasn't been up for a bit. I think it's reasonably effective. At least I notice it when I'm slowing down. I don't know if that affects somebody in a big truck, but it would be something anyway as well to pursue that.
There's also got to be some give and take too, though, for the trucks. I mean, if you wanted them to be doing 50, by the time they get town, they'd have to start slowing down by like Ron Bird's corner. Anybody with anything heavy or livestock, you're not coming in and hitting brakes. You cook your brakes and animals will shift. So, I mean, there's always going to be, I don't know if you can get around it. They need them. It's not like they're just there to sound pretty. They're a needed accessory on the trucks.
The electronic sign could do.
It
Be
goes up
something.
twice a- It goes up twice a year, so it's on a rotation. so-
Yeah. Maybe if it could be moved a little bit further out, but I don't know, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, I find it effective. It reminds me as I'm waking up from a stupid driving up from Fort McLeod, so.
Yeah, is there any other comments in regards to this? Hey, were you looking for a motion or just a suggestion you're okay with?
Just looking for some conversation. We should, we'll probably draft a correspondence item back to the resident here. Just getting some of your input and just run it by the mayor prior to issuing it. The letter is addressed to the mayor, so.
We'll take that for information, and we will move on to request for decision, skate park association beer garden event. Okay. Oh, there's,
Skipped one.
sorry, request for decision, RCMP Claresholm Nat Detachment Housing. Thank you for that. My apologies.
So, yeah, the Claresholm and Nanton attachments have been hubbed for, I believe, a little over a year now. At the time the hubbing was began, it was put in place to provide more coverage. I believe the Nanton detachment was understaffed at the time. And so in that situation, the Claresholm detachment was able to actually go over and provide coverage. Essentially, what the hubbing does is it expands your coverage areas, so the detachment from Nanton and Claresholm are covering each other now, rather than just their own respective areas. So that's been going on for a while, and the RCMP administrators, regional administrators, are looking potentially to make hubbing or are questioning whether or not hubbing should become a permanent structure in the area. And so they've reached out to the councils to see what their perspective is. So we did provide a little bit of information for your review here. A lot of the details are kind of operational, and so we don't have a ton of details, but we do know that in the hubbing model, that sometimes there are departments or detachments that are not staffed because they're covering other areas, and possibly responding from other areas as well, and so response times can be a little bit slower as well. So we're recommending this in reaching out to the detachments. We are recommending that the council doesn't recommend hubbing as a permanent structure. Again, because it spreads it'll spread the detachments out. For example, the Claresholm detachment would now be responsible at times for covering the areas of Nanton detachment, and vice versa. And prior to hubbing, members of the Claresholm detachment were just in the Claresholm area, and so quicker on-call in that situation as well. Your on-call staff are always responding from town. Sometimes the on-call would be actually coming from Nanton under the hubbing model. So Nanton has already reviewed, their council has already reviewed this. Their information is attached here with their town's perspective on it as well.
Open it up for discussion.
No, I agree. When I did my auxiliary ride-alongs, it does take away from the things. Every once in a while, we need help Fort McLeod, then Nanton would have to cover Claresholm, and then you'd hope High River would cover Nanton in case those times. The only plus side that, if there is a plus side to hubbing or all that traveling, is when we used to come back from Fort McLeod, we'd hit a gravel road and patrol a rural area, so the rural people get to see more police action with the hubbing, potentially, depending on how the officers come back, but other than that, I'm not the hubbing doesn't really, it takes away from your locals.
It's hard to express increased policing costs and decreased services.
Yeah.
So that's really where it kind of lies, is we're not paying more to get less.
Correct.
So let's leave it where it's at, and that sounds like a administration problem on the RCMP. That's been a problem.
All right, so we are looking for a motion in regards to, or I guess we're all in agreement, the hubbing model is,
Detrimental
You need a
and not
motion?
beneficial?
Yep.
yeah, we're looking for
I'll
a
make
motion.
that motion.
All right, moved by Councillor Cutler, question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to send a letter to the RCMP regional administrators regarding the proposed hubbing of the Claresholm and Nanton detachments, and that the letter should express concern over hubbing and the loss of coverage, slower response times, and increasing responsibilities resulting from the hubbing.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Now moving on, request for decision, Claresholm Skate Park Association Beer Garden event.
So the Skate Park Association is continuing to do their funding and beer gardens to assist with their funding for the skate park. They have been invited by FCSS to attend the Summer Bash, which is June 20th, 2023, and they're looking to establish a beer gardens from 5 to 8 p.m. That will be at Amundsen Park. There will be live band, food trucks, bouncy house, and other children's activities. In addition to requesting permission for the beer gardens, they have also requested the use of town tables and chairs to accommodate the event.
Open it up for discussion.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger, question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to approve the Claresholm Skate Park Association's beer gardens from 5 to 8 p.m. at Amundsen Park on June 20th, 2023, as well as the use of town tables and chairs to accommodate the event if required, provided they obtain all necessary approvals from the provincial government.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Moving on, request for decision, recreational fees policy update. Babe?
Okay, so we've got the recreation fees policy for your consideration tonight with some proposed updates. Previously, council has approved updates to the campground. Currently, we're considering updates to the multi-use community building, aquatic center, ball diamonds, and the arena, and different, couple different changes as well to the fee policies. So this information was presented at the Audit and Finance Committee meeting with approval from the Audit and Finance Committee. So administration has gone through and compared Claresholm's rates to other communities, so we always consider what other communities are charging when we recommend increases. And one area we found where Claresholm could stand to increase to be more comparable was the arena. And so, for example, local youth across 21 communities, rates range from $60 an hour to $109.50 an hour, with the average being $85.86 an hour. And only communities that were lower than ours of $70.90 an hour was Vulcan and Bow Island. And so we are recommending some 10% increases to those fees, as well as for the adult rates, in-town adult rates as well. Just review some of the other changes as well. We have added a clause, it's highlighted in yellow, that a damage or security deposit for out-of-town rentals for tournaments are non-refundable if the booking is canceled. It did happen to us last year where the booking was canceled and we lost revenues. So we'd like to add that to the policy. Of course, if we can fill the spot and they cancel, we won't charge them. We'll give them their refund. But ball diamonds, we're proposing no increases, but a new fee for tournament over 3 days. There is significant man-hours in preparing the fields and recovering after those tournaments, and so we're proposing a fee for that, and we'll review that shortly. And then the multi-use community building, 5% increase for 2023 and 2024 over the use of those rooms. And then based on conversations at the Audit and Finance Committee meeting, we also have added additional rental fees for the fire hall meeting room. Basically, as per the request from the committee, there would be no charge for government and first responder using the fire hall meeting room, but other groups that are looking to do training and actually having a business to make money, for-profit groups, we would be charging the same rates as the youth and community room in the multi-use community building. So just review some of those fees that were approved by the Audit and Finance Committee. So you can see here, primetime ice rental for youth minor hockey. We are proposing to increase that 10% from $70.90 per hour to $78. And then again, in 2024, another 10% increase, and that brings us pretty much in line with the average in our neighboring communities. Primetime ice rental for adults, we're also proposing raising that 10% in 2023 and 10% in 2024, and again, that brings us up close to the average for the area. With the goal of the subsidies for the arena and for some of these facilities are generally spread out amongst the tax population. This spreads it out a bit more to the actual users of these facilities. We have had tremendous increases in utility costs to operate, particularly the arena, but all of our facilities, and this is helping us recover some of those costs, again, through user fees as opposed to general taxes to the public. And so, again, these are still in line with averages. You can see there's a concession rental increase there as well, proposing that at 5%, sorry, 2.5% increases for 2023 and 2024. And generally 2% increases to other fees, such as the aquatic center. And there's that 3-day tournament for the ball diamonds, $250 plus GST. Previously, there was no charge for using the ball diamonds.
Open it up for discussion.
The only thing I got thinking about afterwards is, like, I'm fine with the fire hall if they're hosting, like, fire training or something with the police or other government stuff where they have emergency service people in there. They know what's going on. They're probably just going to be there. But for, like, just other group users to be using the fire hall in case there's an emergency, we've got lots of other facilities in town that they can rent to be in. I just wouldn't want somebody just be hosting a meeting in the fire hall and then have like an emergency happen or have people wandering through, not saying people will, but people wandering through touching stuff or being somewhere where they shouldn't. I'm fine with, like I say, other fire departments or whatever what they want, but I think for just like the general public, if they want to have like a meeting, there's many other places in town to rent. I don't think the fire hall is a place for it.
The fire hall has been used for years for those purposes, and they've never had a problem with it, so if they don't see a problem with it, and we can generate some revenue from renting it out because people like the layout of it or the accessibility of it, I don't see why there should be a hindrance on. That's my only, I agree with you, but they have never had problems. Like they seem to rent it out or use it on a regular basis, so if the fire chief and the fire crews don't seem to have a problem with it, I don't see a problem with it.
Councillor Kettles.
Well, and I think part of the concern expressed at the meeting was that it was being used anyway, and it was being used for free. So unless we're going to specifically, discourage that use. I think it's good to put a number on it, and then maybe things will take care of themselves for your concerns, Councillor Zimmer.
All right. Any other comments in regards to this? Looking to move to adopt the updated rec facilities. Moved by Councillor Schlossberger. Question.
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to adopt the updated recreation fees policy, policy number 5.7.10, version 2.3 as presented, effective March 27th, 2023.
Okay. Any further questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Motion carried. Moving on. Request for decision, health and safety policy update. Abe?
So we do have a health and safety policy update for your consideration. This policy did come to the Admin Services Committee back in February, I believe. The key updates to the current policy are a requirement for the protection and maintenance of the health and safety of all employees, specifically their physical, psychological, and social well-being. And these are all legislative requirements for our health and safety policy. What each level of the organization will do for roles and responsibilities. The requirement for all levels to comply with OH&S legislation. Again, the word comply actually has to be in the health and safety policy. Additionally, the policy must state the requirement to make all levels of the organization aware of their individual OH&S rights, which are the right to know, right to participate, and the right to refuse unsafe work. And then state the review process, which we have in here every 3 years. The policy should be reviewed. And so our safety officer has gone through and provided these updates. They're highlighted in the policy. That wording is captured, and so we are legislatively compliant if this policy is approved. Any questions on that?
Open up discussion. All right.
Read good to me.
Moved by Councillor Carlson. Question.
Moved by Councillor Carlson to adopt the updated health and safety policy, policy number 1.3.01, version 3.0, as presented, effective March 27th, 2023.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Moving on, request for decision, workplace violence and harassment policy. Abe?
Okay, so this policy also came to the Admin Services Committee. This one is a little more detailed than the health and safety policy that we just reviewed, as you'll notice. But I think you also notice we have attached the old policy in here for your review. You'll see, I think, just by reading the two documents that there's a lot more. This is more of a tool for the employees to use. It does create clearer understanding of violence and harassment in the workplace, better definitions, better processes for how to deal with that, both from coworker to coworker, but also from worker to the public. That's actually one item that was missing from the previous policy, was what does harassment and violence look like for town workers working outside with the public. That interaction was not captured by the previous policy. So it is captured now because that is a part of our work environment is dealing with public. And so this does cover, we often work with contractors. They fall under the blanket of this policy as well. The expectations are there for them to be protected and also abide by this policy. I'll just review the RFD here a little bit. We are required as employers to investigate incidents, so there are investigation processes built in here. There are identifying people in the organization who would do the investigating, take corrective action, provide pathways to make complaints. Previously, if workers had complaints or had concerns. There wasn't really any direction on where to go with that. So we've captured those processes. Again, the policy has to be reviewed and its procedures have to be reviewed every 3 years. And there's also plans in here for orientation for staff. That's another thing. I don't think that was in the previous policy either. And so the staff will get orientation, training, hazard identification. And again, just it's a more robust violence and harassment policy than previously it was. Any questions on or concerns with the policy? It is a two-part policy and procedure.
Any comments, discussion in regards to this? You're looking for a motion to rescind Town Policy 1.2.01 first. Anyone like to make that?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Meister. Question?
Moved by Councillor Meister to rescind Town Policy Number 1.2.01, Respectful Workplace Policy, effective March 27th, 2023.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Looking for a motion to adopt the Workplace Violence and Harassment Policy.
I'll make a motion to adopt workplace violence and harassment policy. Sounded kind of bad, didn't it?
Good, yes. Moved by Councillor Zimmer. Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to adopt the Workplace Violence and Harassment Policy and Procedures, Policy Number 1.2.02, Version 2.0, effective March 27th, 2023.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Moving on, request for decision, Active Transportation Fund Agreement. Abe?
So the town was successful in their application for the Active Transportation Fund. This is a federal program. And normally we get the, if we're successful with the grant, we can just proceed after getting it and administratively work with the granting body to get the funds. With this particular grant, we actually need a motion from council saying that we're capable of carrying out the project and meeting our end of the bargain. So just for reference, this is for work to be done at Amundsen Park for the pathways and accessibility portions of that third phase of that those changes, upgrades to the park. This is in the capital budget, approved capital budget, with a budget of $330,000, and the Active Transportation Fund will fund up to $198,000 of that project. Our staff have reviewed the agreement, the contract rather, and there are no concerns with signing the contract. There's a few details of the contract up here that we've provided you with. Just basically the start date of December 23rd, 2022, which is actually just when we received notice from the government. Completion date of November 30th, 2024. The town commits to complete the project in a diligent and timely manner, responsible to pay for any cost overruns or any disallowed costs. And of course, ensuring that contracts are awarded in a transparent way. We always have proper bidding processes. We have thresholds. This would be over our threshold, whereby we would have to actually post publicly a tendering process, right? So, and of course, we need to recognize the federal government's contributions in all of our advertisements and signage and whatnot. So, we're recommending that council pass a motion to approve entering into the agreement.
Open it up for discussion.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Cutler. Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler that the town of Claresholm can confirm that it meets all the requirements of the Canada Active Transportation Fund Agreement, and that the CAO can be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the town of Claresholm.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Moving on, request for decision, Mayor Petrovic's UCP nomination for Livingston McLeod.
I'll probably let you do most of the talking on this one, Mayor. Looking for an LOA, as most of the community knows, you've been successful with your UCP nomination. And so, according to the MGA, really, you don't have to do anything. You can hold your office as mayor until such point in time as the election happens, and you, if you're successful at the provincial election, you would have to vacate that position. Again, I'll just turn it over to you to fill in the rest of the details.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we're all aware, so I was successful in the nomination for Livingston McLeod for the UCP party. As we've all previously discussed, to make that, it's not, we felt like it was in the community's best interest that they do not have to question whether I'm making decisions for the town of Claresholm or for this nomination race. So I'm here tonight looking for an unpaid LOA moving forward from those dates, and then just some clarity for just those board positions. Some of those need a motion set in place of who would replace me. So we're just here to have just a few discussions. First being hoping for the unpaid LOA, and then for some temporary appointments for those boards. If there's any questions.
I should point out that the LOA leave of absence is effective, would be effective March 28th to May 28th. Looks like as we have the motion written, it looks like the provincial election doesn't happen until 29th. So we're actually suggesting that the LOA reads until the 30th, the day after the election.
I'll make a motion to be amended.
All right. Moved by Councillor Cutler. Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to approve a leave of absence from Claresholm Town Council for Mayor Petrovic effective March 28th, 2023 until May 30th, 2023.
All right. Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Looking for a motion to, there's a few temporary appointments. First one being Joint Economic Development Initiative. Second being Old Man River Regional Services Commission. I'm currently the alternate. As well, the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee. I'm currently the alternate. And the Willow Creek Agricultural Society Board. I'm giving this.
So I'm not sure if council's had a chance to talk about these assignments. If they would like to actually go into closed session to discuss these, we can do that. Or if they're ready to talk about here and now, that'd be fine too.
I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing secret. I mean, can we make comments like that, physician recruitment retention? We won't need one, there's not another meeting until June. So I'm the one next, we won't need one for that one.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I would take the emergency department one if, we just all step up and take one or whatever.
Absolutely.
Who's on the joint economic development?
I'm currently on,
You and her?
yeah, and I don't see.
It's attached.
Listing is attached.
That's way down there. I don't have any buttons to quick tap. I'm gonna be scrolling up and down.
That's Councilor Carlson
If
and
there was a quick tap, I would have done it.
I will quick tap you.
So yeah, obviously we're,
I'll take the Municipal Planning Commission. And also the Community Development Committee, we don't necessarily need another counselor because it's a minimum of 3. So if somebody wants to join that, you're more than welcome, but not, again, not required.
I recommend Rod Kettles for Old Man Planning Commission as an alternate.
Alternate's good, just don't miss.
So who wants to join economic development?
The joint economic development?
I'll take
I-
that one.
Okay.
No, it's fine. I don't perceive there being
Right,
anything happening in the next month, but.
but if it's there,
yeah,
I'll take
it's-
it.
Yeah,
So we have that.
and I can step up for the egg board.
You're the man.
Um,
That's a big one.
I was gonna volunteer for the physician one as an alternate if needed. Like you say, you're not gonna need it till June, but if for some silly reason.
Yeah.
For which?
Perfect. The physician recruitment and retention as the alternate.
Healthcare.
Yeah, we should be, it's got a new name now.
Got a new name now?
The healthcare
Healthcare
keeper.
professional.
I'll be the healthcare keeper guy.
And are you guys would liking one for the community development committee?
It's up to the committee. I think Councillor Meister does have a good point, but if you want to get a fourth body on there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll step up to the community development and the emergency management one.
Great. And then we have Councillor Meister for the MPC.
Golden.
We're good.
So,
Can you type that fast?
okay, so
Question?
emergency management advisory, what did you guys decide on that one?
The what?
Councillor
Emergency
Cutler.
Councillor Cutler.
management-
Yeah.
Well, how many are you taking?
All
Okay, and then municipal planning commission?
Candace.
Candace.
Candace? Okay, so I have the Joint Economic Development Initiative is Councillor Cutler. Forest alternate as Councillor Kettles. Physician recruitment alternate is Councillor Zimmer. And the Ag Society is Councillor Carlson. And then Community Development Committee is Councillor Cutler. Emergency Management Advisory Committee is Councillor Cutler. And Municipal Planning Commission is Councillor Meister. Does that sound right? So I need those, there are two separate motions, one for external and one for internal.
And then to move the date to March 30th.
That's
or-
already did that.
Oh,
No,
did
we
you?
did that
Oh,
one,
thank
yeah.
you. So looking for the,
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary appointments for the external boards as follows until March 30th as well.
moved by Councillor Zimmer. Question?
So moved by Councillor Zimmer to approve the following temporary appointments to external boards and committees as follows, effective March 28th until, and I'll have to put that on there, until May 30th. So the Joint Economic Development Initiative, Councillor Cutler. Old Man River Regional Services Commission, the alternate is Councillor Kettles. Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, alternate is Councillor Zimmer. Willow Creek Agricultural Society Board, Councillor Carlson.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Looking for a motion for the internal boards. Moved by Councillor Schlossberger. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to approve the following temporary appointments to internal boards and committees as follows, effective March 28th, 2023 until May 30th, 2023. Community Development Committee, Councillor Cutler. Emergency Management Advisory Committee, Councillor Cutler. Municipal Planning Commission, Councillor Meister.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Moving on, information brief. Alberta Settlement Integration and Languages Partnership. Dave?
Yeah, for the past couple of years, we have had a couple of, we were the recipient of a grant fund, which is a Settlement Integration Language Partnership Fund. Sorry, just pulling it up here. That grant is now ended. It was a 2-year grant whereby we were able to actually hire a couple of staff, temporary staff, paid for by the grant funding for an engagement coordinator and a diversity coordinator. And those two positions have worked very well in the under the economic development officer to provide some good services that have accompanied our immigration program. in addition to offering services to the immigration program, we're able to, with this grant funding, hire film editing, sound, and production services for 24 months, provide services to the library program, 47 different language learning books at the library, purchase some Chromebooks and other goods at the library, and just purchase other event equipment and whatnot. And so this was all, again, through this settlement integration language partnership program. That funding has come to an end. And so this was just a report to council and to the community that is now closed. The Economic Development Officer did apply for a renewed round of funding. And if successful, we would have continued those programs and those staff. However, we were denied that, unfortunately. There will be other rounds of funding open for that grant as well in the fall and in the spring again. So we would be interested in applying for that again at some point.
Any comments? Too bad we aren't approved. But take it for information right now and move on. Information brief. Alberta Municipalities Spring Leader Conference. Abe?
Yeah, just an information brief for council here about the Spring Leaders Caucus. There are two motions coming up that delegates, participating municipalities will be asked to vote upon. One is brought forth by the City of Calgary, and that has to do with improving regulations, provincial regulations for unlicensed private day homes. The next one is brought forth by the town of Ponoka. It's entitled "The Lack of Consultation Between Alberta Health Services, Provincial Government, and Municipalities." There has to do with their airport and receiving patients, I believe, emergency transfers and patients for their healthcare facilities. I had a quick review of the motion, and it looks like they were shut down suddenly. And so what they're suggesting is that there are other, shut down suddenly by Alberta Health, I believe. And so what they're suggesting is there are other airports in the province that service hospitals for transfers and whatnot that could also potentially be shut down. And so that's why they're bringing this RFD forward, to improve communications in that regard. We do have a couple of representatives. Council does have a couple of representatives going up. This is just on the agenda to see if there was a perspective from the community to arm them with as they attend that, so they can be more educated on what how these issues might resonate in our municipality. Yeah.
Open it up for discussion.
As one of your representatives going up there, my vote, again, with the AHS thing, it's always about consultation. I mean, we ran into it here in Claresholm with our helicopter landing pad and airports and stuff, and there's never any consultation. So, I mean, moving forward, recommending any consultation is always a good thing on my part. So I'll probably be voting in favor of making sure that happens. And on the day home, again, more restrictions, more, I mean, I'm not a private daycare kind of guy, but I'll take any advice you guys got on that vote.
Councillor Kettles.
It's hard to speak against, more safety training for day homes and such. But our day homes, the few that are left, are any left? I think we're in a pretty tough space compared to now with the subsidies and the low cost of the daycare. So it's just so hard for a day home operator, and for those that choose to carry on with it. I guess I'm reluctant to suggest that more restrictions be put against them. Though, like I say, it's hard to argue against, having some safety training and such. So I would encourage our delegates to vote their conscience on that one.
Thanks for the help.
Any other comments in regards to this? Take it for information. Moving on, information brief, CAO report.
Yeah, just a report to council from activities in the organization over the last month. Various departments have provided reports. Any questions on anything?
I was excited to see the, the pool date there in Denise's report,
Yes.
opening up the doors now instead of having to do
Yeah,
so far.
yeah, so there was discussion about that. There will be a release date, just not tonight, just for purposes. So, it is coming.
Stop talking.
Let's take a.
No, it is on there. It will be opening, but the details are still, they're yet to come.
Yeah,
It's
just,
just nice to see that
Yeah.
there's a light.
yeah, there is a light, just the legalities and the purposes and stuff to make sure everybody had their I's dotted and T's crossed and stuff. But the meeting went very well in regards to the pool opening. I'd like to give a big shout out to the Claresholm Center for Mental Health and Addictions and the work they've done to try to get this as quick as they can, working with AHS. Yeah, it was a good meeting, a good discussion around that, and everybody's excited about having those doors open and getting the public back into that swimming pool. So it was a good discussion all around.
Any other comments from the CAO report? Take it for information. Moving on, information brief, council committee reports.
Oh, had a very good discussion about the pool opening up, and the pool's going to open up, and it's going to be a great thing. Guess I should have said it there, not in your CAO report. I'm sorry, sir.
I would like to apologize for that too. I jumped the gun.
Brad, do you want to elaborate on any of it, or we'll just take it for information?
Can I just make one more comment?
Of course.
So, I'd just like to take this opportunity, I know it's our council reports, but I want to give a huge shout out for the weekend that was had in Claresholm and the town of Claresholm for putting on a Claresholm Thunder Alumni Hockey Tournament. That was run very well, and it did a lot of good things for the town of Claresholm. The place was packed, and there was a lot of people down there, and I think a big kudos goes to a lot of the organizational people that did it, and to the town of Claresholm for making sure that they went off without a bang. So it was a great thing for the community this weekend. I just want to give a big shout out for that.
Yes, they definitely deserve all of that credit, so thank you. Moving on, looking for an adoption of the information items.
So, yeah, resolution status up there first, Mayor.
Oh, sorry, I can't see this. Information brief, council resolution status. Oh, thank you. Any questions in regards to council resolution status? Take it for information, and then looking for an adoption of the information items.
I'll make a motion to adopt the information items as presented.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer. All those in favor? Passed. Looking for a motion to go in camera for A, land FOIP section 16, B, personnel FOIP section 17, C, advice from officials FOIP section 24, and D, intergovernmental relations FOIP section 21.
I'll make the motion to go in camera.
Moved by Councillor Meister to go in camera at 8:18 p.m. All those in favor? Passed. Camera off.